At the High-End Vienna Show 2026, Grimm Audio made a great impression on me and others with its new power amplifiers. So I requested a pair of review samples. Grimm Audio started building studio equipment over 20 years ago. Think of DSD, analog to digital converters, reference clocks, and active studio monitors. These monitors also found their way into the high-end consumer market. It inspired Grimm Audio to design a digital music player for their monitors, the widely acclaimed Mu1. It featured only digital outputs, as it was designed for their active loudspeakers. However, the Mu1 was so good that demand soon arose for a version with an integrated digital to analog converter. For the introduction of that model, the Mu2, at the High-End Vienna Show 2023, they needed amplification to drive power monitors they had selected. They chose mono power amps they had already built to experiment with circuits they had used in the Mu2 preamplifier. The power stages were inspired by an original design by the late Henk ten Pierik, a well-known Philips employee and a laureated audiophile. This formed the basis for the PA1, Pierik Amplifier 1. Let's start with the question of why we would choose mono power amplifiers. One reason is that each channel has its own power supply, meaning a sudden power surge in one channel does not affect the other. Another reason, cited by some, is that the amplifiers can be placed close to the loudspeakers, keeping the speaker cables shorter. Of course, you will then need longer interconnects. Wherever they are placed, the amplifiers must be connected to loudspeakers. Next, a source must be connected. Traditionally, this is a preamplifier to which sources are connected. Here, the source and volume are set, sometimes in combination with some form of tone control. Let's consider choosing a network player connected over analog RCA or XLR cables. The player must be connected to your modem/router via a network cable or Wi-Fi. This allows it to connect to streaming services, internet radio, and updates. Music stored in your computer or NAS is also accessible. The player is usually controlled using a smartphone or tablet. But today, players often have integrated preamp functions, like the Grimm Audio Mu2. In that case, the player connected to the power amps, which in turn connected to the loudspeakers as pictured here with the Mu2, form an entire stereo. The front and rear panels are made of asymmetrically shaped aluminium, while the side panels are heat sinks. With the exception of the top, the aluminium is black anodized. In the photos, the amplifier appeared to be smaller, but the dimensions are 250 by 250 by 240 mm, each weigh 15 kilos. On the front, we see the standby button. The dot on the eye is an LED that indicates the power status. On the back, we see an ISC power input. This has no ground pin. The amps are double isolated. As a result, the risk of ground loops is greatly reduced. Above the power input, we see the fuse holder and the on-off switch. The power supply is self-detecting and switches automatically to the local power voltage. The standby mode can be automatically activated if no music is played for more than 40 minutes. This function can be switched on or off with this switch. The gain switch can be set to 18 or 24 dB, depending on the output voltage of the source and the sensitivity of the loudspeakers. There are two inputs, balanced on XLR and unbalanced on RCA. The switch in the middle allows you to select the active input. The speaker terminals accept spade plugs, bare wires and banana plugs. Centrally located, we see the large toroidal transformer with, on the left, 6 15,000 microfarad electrolytic capacitors and other power supply components. Next to it is a small toroidal transformer with surrounding components. They are likely for voltage switching. Against the backplate we find a printed circuit board containing various voltage regulators and input circuits. Next we come to the special Class AB output stages. These are configured in bridge mode, meaning that one board amplifies the positive signal and the other the negative signal. As a consequence, the negative speaker terminal should never be connected to ground, for instance when connecting a subwoofer. Bridging is found in many amplifiers, like the Molo Cetra I reviewed in early June of this year. Where the PA1 differs greatly from others is that each output stage uses 48 small fast power transistors, making a total of 96 per amp. That is far more than usual. They are mounted on special aluminium printed circuit boards to achieve extremely strong thermocoupling with the cooling profile and between all power transistors. The output driver circuit is mounted on the same board and is therefore terminally coupled to the power transistors. This allows a precise set point to be achieved, bringing crossover distortion down to a very low point. In conventional designs, high currents in the case of low frequencies that modulate the temperature in the output transformers will create a deviation from the amplifier's optimum bias. The resulting distortion will not show in the standard 1 kHz THD measurement, according to Grimm Audio. The thermocoupling of all output components combined with the smart design of the control circuit fundamentally prevents such problems. Phase modulation causes distortion on different frequencies. For instance, the strong low frequencies can cause time smearing in higher frequencies. Grimm Audio mentioned to use several techniques to keep this kind of distortion very low. Amongst them feed-forward corrections. Furthermore, a second-order feedback loop reduces remaining distortion to an ultra-low level. There's not much to tell about the operational side. Start with turning down the volume knob on the source, then on both amps connect the inputs, the loudspeakers and the power cord, preferable in that order, select the inputs used, flip the power switches and music will play. Then there are two settings you might change. One is whether the amp should go into standby when no music is played for longer than 40 minutes. The second is to set the gain. Depending on the output signal of the source and the sensitivity of the loudspeakers, the position of the volume control on your source, preamplifier or streamer might be either too low or too high for convenience at normal playing levels. Selecting the other gain setting might solve this. The PA1s were connected to PMC FAC12 signature loudspeakers with stack audio over isolators via AudioQuest Robin Hood Zero speaker cables. The Grimm Audio Mu2 served as roon endpoint and preamplifier and was connected to the PA1s via Grimm Audio SQM XLR cables. The network correction ran over a Network Acoustics Muon network cable to the Matrix Audio SI1 Ethernet filter. This filter was connected to the Zixel GS1900-10HP switch via Cat6 patch cable. The Zixel T56 modem/router was connected to the Zixel switch and was connected to the 1 gigabit Odido fiber optic internet connection via a Nokia media converter. The small green computer Sonic Transporter i7 CDR was connected to the Zixel switch via Cat6 patch cable and ran roon server, minim server and Orivana core server. The iPad Pro was used to control the music server software on the Sonic Transporter. The PSI Audio AVAA C214 active bass strap provides measured against room modes. The demos at High-End Vienna had made an enormous impression on both myself and my son, who has a degree in audio design at the HKU. We heard a level of resolution we had never heard before coming from a stereo setup. It was magical. We went back the next day, it was even better. The source was the Grimm U2. The speakers were prototypes of a new passive loudspeaker. So we knew the player, but not the speakers. The review samples were the same samples that were used in Vienna. After I unpacked the amps and connected them, I was slightly disappointed. It sounded good, but the magic was not there. I knew they had already played and might not need to be burned in. It took 2 days for the magic to reappear. And there was even more magic than I recalled from Vienna. Let's start with the lows. In my video Thoughts on Room Correction, I talked about how room modes become less audible when true high-end equipment is used. Using my Air Acoustics AX520 amplifier and using the PSI active bass trap, there are only sometimes the room becomes audible. Using the PA1, the room is silent all the time, and not only in the lows. Reflections that disturb the stereo image can perfectly be ignored by my hearing and that of my son. So the stereo image is wide and deep. Spaces between the instruments are well defined and in the background is pitch black. Dynamics are perfectly rendered, as are microdynamics. We could never hear any coloration on any instrument, and no instrument influenced other instruments. If there is a bourdon tone, a continuous low frequency tone, a plucked bass didn't influence the bourdon. It's always difficult to describe sound quality, for everyone has different associations with words used by the reviewer. This time, for the second time ever, the word organic popped up. The first time was during a demo with Halcro Eclipse amps in combination with PMC Finestras and the Grimm U2. The price for a pair is 24,000 euros, and that's a lot of money. But a stereo pair of Halcro Eclipse mono amps cost about 4 times that. What's the price of Goosebumps? Does it help you to know that it comes with 5 years of warranty, or that you probably have to wait until September or later before you can buy a pair? In the meantime, don't go to demos if your budget is too tight, for you will be sold within 3 minutes. And then you might need another 5 minutes to admit you're sold. And on that bombshell, we come to the end of this video. It is summertime, so I will not publish a video every week, but if you subscribe or follow me on Patreon, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram or TikTok, you will be notified when new videos are published. As always, Patreon and YouTube Premium members get early access and no ads. A huge thank to everyone who supports the channel financially. I appreciate every single euro, pound, dollar or equivalent you donate. You keep me independent and motivated. It's easy to contribute using the QR code on screen or the links in the description. I'm Hans Beekhuizen. Thank you for watching, and whatever you do, enjoy the music.